Hey, everyone, and welcome into the Repair Crew podcast. I'm here with Bob Fullerton, who is an account executive for TireGuru. Definitely want to spend some time talking today to Bob. He spent the good part of the last year meeting with, talking to, demoing a lot of dealers in the tire market. And we've mentioned that a few different times here on the podcast in terms of how interesting that side of the market is, especially as it starts to merge with some of the general services. So I wanted to welcome in Bob. We're going to cover a lot of stuff today, but we're going to try and do it as fast as we can because there is always a lot of information. And we'll definitely make sure that you can get in contact with Bob afterwards if you have any other questions or need any additional follow-up. But Bob, thanks for joining us. Why don't we start out? Just give us a little bit of your background. You kind of live an interesting life, right? Because you were on the management and ownership side for many years. And then just recently, you've kind of moved more to the partner software, we'll kind of put it in quotation marks, consultant side of things recently, because I think that's interesting. But give us a little bit of your background. What's your expertise within this side of the market?
Well, yeah, and thanks for having me, Kevin. My background starts very young because my father worked for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company for 37 and a half years. So I grew up in the tire business, especially on the Goodyear side of it. So after retiring, he opened up a shop and an independent Goodyear. And I started, I bought into that shop. I owned that shop for 33 years before I sold it, decided to retire from retail. But I had actually started mounting tires and changing oil and doing all that since I was 16 years old. So I've been in the automotive industry off and on throughout my entire professional life. I did earn a degree in industrial and systems engineering from Georgia Tech. Did work in actually for the Clorox company at one of their plants for a few years before I bought the company business and started the company business. But after 33 years, my wife and I decided that it was time to get out of retail. She'd been a retail widow for 33 years, which is difficult. But got out of the family business. And with that tech background, I really wanted to help other dealers because I went through some pretty difficult changes in my point of sale software. And it was pretty rough on me, and probably one of the reasons why I did sell. That is one of the reasons that it put a lot of stress because I unfortunately chose what I felt the wrong software.
One of the things that I find, sort of most interesting about your journey, and thank you for sharing that, by the way. So I was on the franchise automotive side of things for about a decade, out of college, and I saw so many people move from the dealership into software because they had such a passion for, whether it was development or, new ways for lead generation, customer experience, all these other things. So I'm just curious from your perspective. I mean, you mentioned one of them, just the learning of the software and making the right choice. But when you went from owner to partner, I'm just going to say in this case, because I think vendor is a little bit more of a loaded term. When you made that transition, what were some of the hard lessons that you learned in terms of changing your perspective?
Oh, the perspective is, I still have a little issue. When you're doing something, the same thing for over 30 years, there is a lot, you get locked into being an owner, being able to, the buck stopped with me. If there was ever a problem in the shop, back of the house, front of the house, in the back office, which I ran the entire back office, I would change tires and change oil up until the last day I worked for my store, and of course sell. But you always knew that you were the guy. Anything that happened in that shop, my name was on the side of the building. I had to make sure that it was taken care of and my customers were taken care of. So the change going from that to for lack of better words, going from the queen bee to the worker bee, there's a lot of differences at this point, but it's actually very refreshing because I do get a chance to talk to these dealers. I do get to listen to what they're going through. And I can tell them that I walked a mile, for the most part, walked a mile in their shoes. I understand what they're going through. So my perspective has to go not only the same, to be a good partner with them, to try to possibly change what they're doing, to make their lives a little easier, to give them some more time, to make them more efficient. And I do bring a little bit different perspective, I believe, than just someone coming in trying to sell software, because as much as and I love the TireGuru product, I love it, I believe in it, I think it is the best product for tire and automotive service facilities. I wish I had more knowledge about it a few years ago when I was making a software change. So, but I do need to, and I am slowly but surely changing my perspective as well, to try to kind of be not being able to fix everything, because when you're a business owner, you try to fix everything. Now I have a great team I work with. If I have a problem, all I got to do is reach out. If there's something going on, reach out. So it makes it a lot easier on me, but I can't, I can't think that I can fix everything myself. So I got to lean on other people.
Yeah, that's great perspective, and also a great segue into the current pains of today's market. So you're on the phone, or chat, email, sometimes visiting, dealers on a daily basis, and you're hearing a lot of in the market. Anything specific stick out to you in terms of the way things have shifted, even over the last several years between when you owned a tire business and what owners are experiencing now? Anything major stick out when you're having those conversations?
The number one thing that's happening, I think, in the entire industry, not just the tire industry, but the tire automotive service, is the lack of people wanting to get their hands dirty and learn the trade. They don't want to start. There's the kids tend not to want to do this industry. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They would rather go try to get to college and spend all that money and not become a technician. And it's heartbreaking to hear some of the folks that I talk to say, I'm just looking for people. I'm looking for people. I'm looking for people. That's their number one concern. Or I will call and it's, I got a guy out. I can't talk right now, which is understandable because most tire dealers, our margins aren't super high. You got to run lean and mean. But I think the number one concern is lack of people joining the trades, be it automotive, be it builder, be it whatever. But the automotive, I think, has been taking it on the chin, and they're good paying jobs out there, And as I say, these guys, the guys working in the back of the house, most of them, they're great people. They're wonderful people. They make a good living, and when they go to bed at night, they sleep well, because they know they gave their all in the business that day, and there's not as many worries as that is on the shoulders of the business owner. So,
yeah, I mean, we hear that a lot of different places in terms of people being a little bit more. I don't know if it's hesitation to get into trades or just a misunderstanding of what their potential is or what their earning potential is or where they need, like what the traditional route to a career is. But you said something that was interesting to me, which is, people sort of in and out of the shop and the ability to attract talent and all this other stuff. Does that make it even more difficult then to get a software sticky within a business? Like, you implemented a shop management system, right? I mean, let's do this. First, take me through, an abridged version of what your software install was like, and then maybe compare that to what you're talking to customers and prospects now in terms of what their perception of software, because changing shop management is no small task, right? You're literally changing, in a lot of cases, the way you manage your business. But what was your experience with that?
So, the shop management system is basically what I call the nervous system of the entire business. It is all the communication. It is all of that is built into a shop management system. If it's done properly, it is that at least. But my experience with changing shop management systems, I was at the same system for roughly 30 years. In fact, basically the same system since I was in high school at 16 years old. It changed a little bit, but the background, the base of that system was the same. and it was provided by Goodyear. So the Goodyear GBMS system, well, they finally decided to nix that system after many, many years. They were going to just change it and keep it in-house. But a number of years later, they decided to go outside. And they kind of shoved, nudged, pushed us into a specific software brand. And when they did that, everybody kind of jumped ship from the Goodyear GBMS system into their system. Unfortunately, this particular software company did not have the personnel to train. So it was throw you in the sandbox, give you a demo version of the software, and play for a little while, learn it, and we'll go live in a month. And that was a disaster because we did not learn really anything about the software. We didn't learn how we were going to become better with it. We basically used the software system like it was the old system. So it ended up being very difficult. And then once again, everybody jumped in at the same time. So if there was ever any problems, try to get on the help line and talk to somebody, and they could be anywhere in the world. And many times there was a great woman in South Africa that was really good at she was the one person I leaned on a lot. And she would talk me off the ledge almost 2-3 times a week when I was just so frustrated because I didn't get trained. And the implementation was okay in terms of bringing all the old information into the new system. That was okay. But training on the new system, there was none. So that's one thing I love about the TireGuru product is we're going to work as long as it takes, to get people trained and use what is important for them in the software. And then as we go along and as they grow and as they build their business, we can keep training them and keep them moving along so they can get the most out of the software. But it was tough. It was very, very tough when we switched.
I mean, that's a pretty resounding endorsement from the fact that you managed that business for 30 years, were on 2 different management systems, and now you consult people on a management system that you obviously have bought into and believe in. And if you're talking to prospects on a daily basis that potentially want to buy into TireGuru as well and go through the training, we know that it's going to be adopted. We know that it's going to be sticky, at least within their business. And in the time that you've been with the product and working on the product, any success stories that you have? You don't have to necessarily name names or details because we don't want to embarrass anybody around here. But any success stories in terms of maybe somebody that you've sold sold TireGuru to, and they've had shop success, whether it's through training or through, actually growing their business. Are there any of those cases that you've seen along the way?
Well, I am the oldest rookie, I think, in age in the TireGuru business. So, and I haven't been, in all honesty, I've been working the product for really not quite a year yet. So it's what I've seen though are people that are very excited about getting involved in the software when they do go into and get this software and sign up for the software. Go back in and we'll circle back around and check, and very happy with it. And they're happy with the training. Now, once again, not having a lot of my leads and my customers being able to spend a lot of time in it, we're going to find out here in the next few months just how excited they are. I do talk to some of the Tire Pros dealers and just see how happy they are with our version for Tire Pros. We're just starting to work with Tire One dealers and just seeing how excited they are about getting a system that is built with them in mind, rather than something that they're just trying to make good use of that is not necessarily built for them. So looking forward to a lot more success stories. I wish I could say, yeah, there's this one or that one. But once again, I'm the rookie right now. I'm well, not the young guy, but I am the newest guy on the team. So we're going to keep up with and that's one thing I like to do is, in fact, I'm going to make a couple of phone calls today with some customers to make sure everything's going okay. Because as a team, we need to work at, still work. We do work still as a team. Once I get them to sign up with us, want to make sure they're happy with us. And if there's anything that I can do for them, I'm going to push it through as best I can. So.
Yeah, and you may be the rookie, but I guarantee you have the scar tissue, right? Like you can commiserate and know specifically what they've been through, which I think makes, kind of your consultation and expertise, float above a lot of the others out there. And, just with the time that we have left, two last questions here. The first is, if you were to take off your product hat, right, your TireGuru hat, and put back on your business owner hat, what's one thing that you wish would have been done differently when you approached your new shop management system? It sounds like training was a big one, right? The ability to have somebody that you could work with and actually learn the product and the workflows and everything else. Would that be number one for you? Is there anything else above and beyond that you would really consider, like, man, I really wish I would have understood how my data was transferred or understood the importance of a digital vehicle inspection? Like, what sticks out to you there?
I think that what sticks out mainly there is at the time of the changeover from the old GBMS system into the system that they kind of pushed us into, there were a couple of other software companies that they offered, but I was not aware of what was really out there on the market and how much different software companies were able to that they were able to move the information into their system, first of all, because I had 30 years of information in my system that I did not want to let go of a single bit of that. So I was not made aware. I did not take the time to really look at other systems. And if I would have researched it more, I think that, if I would have researched it more, I would have made a different decision. One of the things that, as well as another pain point that I had was, first of all, note the lack of training with this particular vendor, but also the fact that you had to sign a long-term commitment. And that's something that I really love about our product is no long-term commitment. We have to do our job every single month to keep our customers happy. And our customer owns their information. We're not going to hold it hostage. We're not going to, so we have to do our job. If we don't do our job, we get fired. And these other companies that have you sign 1, 2, 5-year commitments, there's a reason for that. It's not that their product is superior. They're setting that hook. And once they set that hook, it's very difficult for dealers to get out of that agreement. And I know it cost me, when I sold my business, it cost me quite a bit of money to kind of wash my hands of the business software that I stopped using. So anyway, I think that's another pain point. But yeah, I think if I were looking back at it again, a lot more research, I would have taken my time, done the research, and made the decision a little more thoughtfully, rather than getting pushed into a product that I did not like. So.
Yeah, and a whole nother conversation, I think, that we just don't have time for today around research mediums. Like, I think that it's a conversation that my team and I have on a daily basis. Like, what's the best way to reach somebody in the market that might be interested in a specific product? Not even necessarily to sell, just to have a conversation about. And I don't necessarily think there's a silver bullet at this point, because everybody learns and researches in different ways. But we can come back to that another time, because I would like your opinion on that at some point. But last question that I have, just to wrap this up. So, we've covered your experience. We've covered, you're getting into it on the software side, the rookie on the team that has the scar tissue. We've covered your ability to connect with dealers on a daily basis and get their thoughts on what the market looks like. Keep your dealer hat on for the next 12 to 18 months, not literally, but obviously figuratively for this conversation. What do you see any specific thing that's interesting to you that you think either the market is shifting towards on the tire side, or anything that's interesting to you from the perspective of a business owner that might impact how you make decisions in the next 12 to 18 months?
So I think that the electrification of vehicles, although you look at the car rental agencies dumping their electric fleets, that kind of thing. Um, I remember when it was, oh wow, there's a Tesla going by. Wow, there's a Tesla. You'd see it every once in a while, and you play a little game. I wonder if I'll see a Tesla on the way home from the shop tonight, kind of thing. Um, and now it's, where do you not see them? They're everywhere. The electrification of vehicles is a hard reality. Now I know that it's a lot of people aren't accepting of it, but many people are. And in that case, tires on electric vehicles get burnt off. So the tire industry, I believe, will see a good uptick once and as these electric vehicles are burning the tires off because of the unlimited torque. So when you look at that end of it, that's a good thing for tire dealers. I also think that tire dealers and aren't really jumping to try to get to the bottom, the lowest price. I think that they're starting to sell their value of their service, and I think that's got to help the tire dealer. They have to be able to sell what they're bringing to the game that's different from the big box stores and the Costco's out there, and the fact that they are more personal. They can get the tires on a lot quicker. You don't have to make an appointment a week ahead of time. Because let's face it, when you need tires and you got to put them on, you don't want to wait a week. You just want to get it over with. Um, it's not a fun purchase. Unless you're putting wheels and tires on your newly lifted or slammed vehicle, no one wants to buy tires. My dad told me, he said, the only thing that keeps the tire and service dealer off the bottom of the barrel of those people selling things, the only two are dentists. No one wants to go to the dentist, and no one wants to go to the mortician. So we were very, very, very close to be at the bottom of the barrel of who people want to see. So we have to make it. You have to make that service enjoyable to a point for your customer. And I think there will be a bit of an increase from a business that has been pretty flat. If you read the news articles, you read Tire Business, Modern Tire Dealer, it's been pretty flat over a few years. But I think there'll be an uptick, especially now that people are starting, obviously traveling, so and having to go to work. So, but that's what I think.
That's a great anecdote from your dad there. That's the first time I've heard that, but I could totally get it, right? There's a perception, sort of issue regardless of the type of vehicle that you drive. It's got to be a consumer or a customer experience piece. And I think a lot of, dealers, to the credit of what Tire Pros and Tire One, a lot of the partners that you had mentioned are doing, are really addressing that by ways of using software, by ways of doing facelifts. I mean, we just talked to a Tire Pros dealer from North Carolina not too long ago. You and I, Philip Biscan, and he had some really interesting things to say about how they've implemented software and how they've changed, just the customer experience of interacting with personnel, with team members. So I do think that that's a really important piece. And to your point of like the uptick potentially in tires, I think it's unavoidable at this point. Just with the market research and even the RO, type aggregation that we do on our side of things to try and see what vehicles are getting the most ROs created for them right now. So it'll be interesting to see, but it's definitely something that, obviously putting your product hat back on now with TireGuru, that team and that product is going to be able to address pretty succinctly.
Yeah, I think that we'll be able to. One thing about it, with over 170,000 different tire SKUs in our catalog, over 140,000 custom wheel numbers in our catalog, we do absolutely go the extra mile at making sure that the tire dealer has all the information they need to move that product and get the information quick enough when there is our new product out there. It gets in the system, and that's something that there's always been a little bit of a lag there between a manufacturer providing a new product and that information getting to the dealer's hands. But the quicker you can get that, the quicker you can move that new merchandise, that new and improved merchandise, and hopefully increase your profit on that end of it and make a little bit more money instead of going to the tier 3, tier 4 tires that it seems like people are hopefully starting to get away from, so they can make a little more a little more money on the higher end tires.
That's the perfect way to end it. Profit, right? Make money for the business
Exactly.
without losing it at the back end. So, Bob, so appreciate your time today for jumping in on the podcast. We'll talk again soon. Like I said, I want to get your take on some of the research methods and a few other things, but go ahead and make your calls to your dealers today, see how they've been getting along with TireGuru, and we'll be happy to hear your report back to us. But again, appreciate your time today, and hopefully everybody that was listening got a few tidbits out of there.